In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Wreaker for the Black Series 6-inch line. He was released as a deluxe action figure, which I think he was one of the very first ones where Hasbro started doing that. And we all know better by now that there's really nothing deluxe about this character or action figure at all, other than the price and the fact that his tooling really can't be reutilized for anyone else. So Crosshair, Hunter, Echo to an extent, and Tech even to an extent. Their parts can kind of be reused for other clones or other figures, for example. Wreaker here is totally unique. He's much bigger, much more robust, and there's really nothing on him that can be reutilized at all except maybe some of his accessories. So this is actually the very first Bad Batch member I got in my collection. When Hunter and Crosshair originally released, I didn't really have any interest in owning the Bad Batch at the time. I didn't mind the characters at all. I kind of liked them to an extent. But it was something where it's like, well, they're not a priority. And at this time, we still thought that TBC was going to be getting them in no time. So I thought, well, if I'm going to get them in a scale, I'll just go ahead and get the TBC ones whenever they're released. So then one day, and this was August 30th of 2021, I think, or it was August 23rd, one of the two. I happened to go into Walmart that day, and they had a whole bunch of Wreaker on the shelves there. And at this point, I haven't really seen any new Star Wars action figures at Walmart in a long time, so it was refreshing to see. And the more I looked down, I thought, he's a very nice action figure. I kind of like the character. So I thought about it for a little bit. I even walked away for a few minutes. Then I came back and said, no, I'm going to go ahead and get him. And I'm glad I did. He's a very nice action figure, and when I opened him out the package initially, I was like, wow, this is very nice. And I had no complaints about him, and I didn't complain about the price even. He was just a solid action figure. So then time went on, and I was like, well, I have Wreaker, and Tech was also getting released around the same time. And then I look back at Hunter and Crosshair, it's like, well, I really need to complete the crew. So I think the next one I ended up getting was Crosshair, actually, and I explained how I got him in that set. Then after that came Tech, who I got on eBay. Then after that, I'm pretty sure I want to say it was Hunter, and I got him off a deal on eBay as well. I only paid like $35 at most for Hunter, which I know a lot of people look at that these days and go, wow, you only get them for $35. But even at that time when I got them, I thought, yeah, that's a little more expensive than I'd be willing to pay, but I'll take it for what it is. And of course, Echo, who is reviewed on the channel almost 2 years ago at this point. And now we have the full original crew, including Wreaker now, reviewed on the channel. So I hope you'll check some of those videos out. So that's the story of how I acquired the Bad Batch. And this was over the series of a year or so, maybe a year and a half. For the longest time, I only had just Wreaker, Crosshair, and Tech. And I was okay with that. I was really in no rush to get the rest of the crew all at once. And I didn't mind waiting on Hunter or Echo for an extended period of time even. So it was nice to be able to enjoy having just a few in the collection for the time being before I get the rest of them. Let me know in the comments if you do the same thing as well when you're completing a crew. Do you usually get like one at a time and then you let it sit in the collection for a while? Then by the time you get the last one, it's like, oh, well, I finally got the last one now, and I feel like all that momentum's out the window. You'll know what I'm talking about if you experience the same thing. But anyways, let's just go and take a closer look at this guy. So we know that Wreaker here is more the brute of the bunch. It's always nice to have these type of guys along. I think Wreaker's a lot smarter than people give him credit for. You don't get in some of these wild scenarios and live this long in combat if you don't have some smarts about you. So as far as I know, I think he's pretty much all unique tooling. Like I said, he's much more robust compared to the rest. It's a very nice, unique helmet there. Probably my favorite helmet of the bunch. Paint he has is really nice. Has the teeth there and the mouth. Not exactly sure what it's supposed to be. Mandalorian or a clone or something. Has some markings there. But I will say his helmet is, it doesn't really match the rest of his armor. It almost looks like it's just like a matte finish. While like Hunter here, it blends in with the rest of his armor. And his helmet here feels a lot cheaper, I think, compared to the rest of them. Here's his head sculpt. Looks pretty good. Has the scarring on this side here. It's pretty good on this side. Nice clean shaven head. As you can see, he has a pretty large neck around there. Unfortunately, the helmet isn't the best fit. At least for my action figure, it feels like it's a little small. As you can see, that's about the best I could really get it to fit over his dome. And sometimes it just doesn't want to fit too well at all. But it's not the worst. It could just ever be so slightly better, I think. As you can see, has a lot of scrapes and scuffs and dents in his armor. Has the 99 in the skull there. This time he has the skull actually on his shoulder blade, or just a little below that instead of on the side here. Skull on this side as well. Some scraping there. This is his backpack, and he has a skull on the back of that as well. He does have a unique backpack. And they even put some dents on his back of his bottom there. As far as his articulation is concerned, it's the same exact as the rest of the figures. I don't think there's anything unique about it at all. If you see my previous videos of the other Bad Batch, or Hunter more specifically, you know what you're getting into. Super articulated. Even though he's using all new tooling, there's really nothing different as far as I can tell. In terms of his weapons and accessories, he comes with the extremely puny Republic Commando Blaster, which for Wreaker is much more prevalent. I think he deserves a much larger weapon. And that's basically a pistol for him. No holster, which is not really necessary. We don't really see him with one in the series. It does have these pouches around his belt as well. Not sure if they're pouches or just part of the belt. But he comes with his extremely long knife there as well, which looks really good. And he does have the sheath on the side of his right leg there. I have heard some people say that the blade accidentally ripped off because they had it in the sheath for too long. So I would suggest being kind of careful about that. I never really have his blade displayed in the sheath. It is a extremely tight fit, so I'm not going to push it much more than that. But you can't get it all the way flush with the sheath. I think he looks better holding on to this anyway. If you have a battle droid, you can get some really nice diorama displays. Him holding this knife. But it is a tight grip in his hand. And the backpack is removable. It's form-fitting with the rest of them. Yeah, let me show that backpack off one more time. It's an extremely unique one. I kind of forgot how unique that was. There's those canisters there, and some reds, and skull, and some blues. And as you can see, huge difference between Hunter and Wreaker there. So the moment of truth, we get the original Bad Batch all together here. Here's how they all appear in the Clone Wars series. Just the 4 of them. And we'll go ahead and throw in Echo as well. Like I said, he's been reviewed on the channel for a long time now. If you want to go back and check that out. Wow, they all look really good together. So now we got the entire original Bad Batch as how they appeared in Season 1, Episode 1. Reviewed on the channel at long last. So like I said, this wasn't a set or a group that I was expecting to own at one point, but then you get Wreaker and it's like, well, I have to complete the crew. So then that's when I went ahead and got the rest. I'm very happy to own this crew. I think I've grown even more fondly of the Bad Batch ever since I've owned these. Unfortunately, the series really isn't living up to expectations, but it does have some hits here and there. I hope that it's not totally forgotten throughout history. I know probably after a year or two, most people probably aren't going to give much thought to the Bad Batch. But still, to me, it's the last legacy of the George Lucas era. As we know, the unfinished episodes of the Bad Batch were in production. The ones from the Clone Wars before George Lucas sold the rights to Star Wars to Disney. So technically, the Bad Batch is probably one of the last George Lucas era creations. And since I'm a big fan of the expanding universe and the Lucas era, I think it's a great way to kind of honor that legacy by keeping the Bad Batch on. It's probably one of the last few pieces from the Lucas era that is still going strong today and has taken an interest from the Disney and modern day Lucasfilm. But they're all solid action figures. I've talked plenty about them. I would recommend them if you're willing to, if price is no factor, of course. But I would not overpay for any of these. I mean, I would highly recommend trying to find deals for all these guys, if possible. And like I mentioned, at some point, maybe I'll get Omega. And of course, we'll be able to feature all these guys again. I really hope TVC finishes the crew. Basically, all they got to do is just do all 4 of these guys and scale them all down. There's really nothing that needs to change other than text goggles. Everything else can pretty much stay the same. I hope you enjoyed this review of Wreaker. Get another look at all these guys together. Let me know in the comments what you think of the Bad Batch and if you own any of these. Always enjoy reading them. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I always appreciate all your support. And check out some links in the description if you haven't done so already. Of course, stay tuned for plenty more videos. There will always be more to come. As always, thanks for watching.